In part 3 of our One PC to Rule Them All series, we're going to be discussing the needing to upgrade your next PC versus wanting to upgrade your next PC. Coming up, roll the intro. Hey name tags and welcome, this is Ash from Heal My Tech, helping you go from newbie to techie. On this channel we do reviews, repairs and tutorials of tech, so if you're new here consider subscribing, enable the bell icon notification, and everyone smash that like button for more videos like this one. And please use my Amazon affiliate links, it will really help the channel out, it's not going to cost you anything extra. Thanks a million. Now if you're new to this series, the One PC to Rule Them All is a series whereby I give you, the audience, full responsibility to decide on every aspect of my next PC build for 2019. So there are more details on the series up there, watch that there or in the description below. Usually I post a question as a poll on the community tab on YouTube and I ask you guys to vote, and we usually go with the majority, although yeah, I know the majority is not always right, but so far we've been doing okay. If ever there's a problem with the majority's decision, we'll address that and cross that bridge then. Now guys, if you probably can tell, my voice is a bit croaky. I'm still suffering with a bit of hay fever. Watch my previous video on that topic and please excuse me. So in our last video, part 2, we discussed the concept of building your next PC or buying your next PC. And also in the same video, I proposed that there are 4 main stages of PC building. And I mentioned that I don't believe PC building is as easy as some people say. Although I am a PC person, my whole channel, majority of it is about tech repair and majority of the tech repair is about PC, I still say it's not as simple as some people say. So go watch that video and then before you decide to bring your pitchforks again and leave me in comments in the section below. You need to know what I'm talking about. Don't just take what I'm saying here to be the de facto position. All right. Now the golden rule of today's discussion is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Which means if your device is doing what you need it to do, then there is no need for you to be upgrading unless you want to and you can actually afford to, but don't feel obliged. That's kind of the sum of today's video. You can click away if you want, but please don't do that. Come on, stay a bit longer. I need the 10 minutes, 10 minute stuff. Now, in a previous video about LinusTechTips, MKBHD and Unbox therapy, up there and down below, we discussed those side grades which many companies kind of try to trick you into buying, and there's not much difference in the previous versions. And this is what I have a problem with. I'm not saying that I'm against advancement of technology like some people commented on that video. I'm just saying that you don't need to keep forking out money just to get some side grades, which really doesn't make any difference to you. It's just because you get probably conned by the big marketing that's happening, and unfortunately because some YouTubers, some channels are dedicated to bringing you always the latest and not the greatest tech, then you're gonna feel like maybe you should be upgrading just because something is out there. And our channel is all about trying to save you guys some money and educate you on maybe keeping your device for longer if you find value in it still. Now this is not the same as being cheap. You guys know my position on this. I'm gonna say it again. If you need something and that thing costs £1,000, then you need to get that thing. It doesn't matter how much it costs. If it costs £10,000 and you need that, especially for your work, then you need to get that. I'm not cheap. I'm just very conscious. I don't want to misspend money where it doesn't need to be. Plus, the whole thing about too much consumerism and the electronics that we are consuming these days is just pure nonsense. They break very easily. So one previous video I also did was when Ryzen was coming out or had just come out, and in that video I mentioned that I wasn't going to be upgrading to the first Ryzen generation platform. And back then I mentioned that the purpose for my computer was mostly for content creation, although I built it with gaming in mind a few years ago, but I never really got into gaming after I built it. I kind of grew out of it. But back then what I said was that there is an 80-20 principle which stems from economics, basically meaning that 20% of your clients can bring you 80% of your revenue, and vice versa can also be true, which means that 80% of the things you do only yield 20% of results. When the first generation of Ryzen came about, I proposed that for me, I didn't see the need to upgrade to Ryzen because it would bring me no benefit. Back then I was still doing about 1 to 2 videos a week and I was still working with 1080p. So even if you consider that rendering times would have been much faster for me, that would be just the rendering aspect of my whole content creation. So I would probably gain 5 minutes per video on a 10-minute video, maybe, and that would be 10 minutes for the whole week, which doesn't justify me spending anything between £600 to £1,000 just to upgrade to a platform. What I also proposed was that in a content creation scenario, there are so many other things you can do that would actually make your whole process faster, and having an upgraded system was not going to be one of them. What are the things that could make your content creation faster? For example, for me, it would be things like learning to edit faster, which means use that money and pay for a course and learn to edit faster, because editing for me is the longest and most painful part of the whole content creation. Other things I mentioned about was maybe getting a teleprompter, investing in that. That would help me to record videos much more faster with less mistakes, which means again less time for editing. Second camera, which I already bought since then, and that's been really helpful. A wireless microphone, which I haven't bought still, that would really help in reducing time for setup and getting tangled with wires. It's really annoying. Heck, I could even try to employ someone for one whole month, pay them that money, and I think together we'll be able to produce a lot more content, which eventually will benefit me more than upgrading to a new platform back then. I also mentioned that if I was doing daily uploads, probably then it would have been worth it, because the cumulative factor would mean I would be saving time every day, and that would be worth in a whole year's period. But that wasn't the case. Now forward to today, is it still the same case? Well, I thought I was going to be starting to upload daily, but it hasn't happened. I tried a couple of times, so I'm still not really uploading as frequently as I want to. It's between 2 to 3 videos a week on average. So does that still justify that I consider upgrading this time? Well, yes and no. This is what you're going to decide for me. Now, this is the scenario. At the moment, like, I'm using DaVinci Resolve for my editing. I'm still working with 1080p. What I've noticed is when I'm scrubbing a normal 1080p video without any major special effects, I'm not using the color grading tab, I'm not using the Fusion tab, I do see some spikes in my processor. It kind of lags every now and then. It's not enough to detract me and make me stop using DaVinci Resolve, but I've noticed it, okay? So that's one. Also, once when I did try to do some sort of color grading, I don't want to call it color grading, it was just basically moving some sliders, but I did kind of put some sort of effects. That day, the rendering time was almost double, maybe even more than twice the time, and that was not on a massively edited video. So my processor with DaVinci Resolve at the moment, with what I'm doing, is slightly bottlenecking my system. Not enough to consider changing, however. But what if I start to put some more fusion effects and some more color grading? That would definitely have a problem. And if I ever start to use 4K footage, even if I'm rendering in 1080p, that's going to become a huge problem. By the way, just to mention that when I did use Adobe Premiere Pro, I did not have this problem with the spiking and the lagging of the processor during scrubbing. So that's just one difference between Adobe and DaVinci. It's not enough for me to go back to Adobe, because that's a different story. So that in and of itself can be a reason for me to upgrade. What do you guys think? However, before I kind of make a decision and that you guys make a decision, hear me out. So there is a difference with the free version of Resolve versus the pro version, the paid version of Resolve. I'm told that it has a different codec for rendering, especially in things like 4K or even in using footage. And there is a difference. Some people have reported it once they've switched to the professional version. Any lag that they had, it was all gone. So one alternative for me not to upgrade to a new platform would be to just get the professional version of Resolve, and hopefully there will be no issues. I'll be able to render a bit faster and there will be no lag, etc. I mean, that could be a solution, but I don't have the actual proof of that. This is just kind of in theory, and also because I'm still just using 1080p, it's not reported to be a problem with 1080p. So in my case, maybe the FX8350 is really just too old for the current Resolve that I'm using and for my current needs. Who knows? Still, I can kind of work around it. It's not a major problem at the moment. But how about other alternatives that I could do before considering switching my whole platform? Could I add more RAM? Probably. Would it make a difference? One way to find out. Currently I've got 16 gig of DDR3, which seems to be okay, but more RAM probably better for editing. I don't know. Could that change my GPU? Again, maybe, but that's not going to give me essentially a huge difference at this level. What about trying a completely different operating system, for example, Linux, because Resolve actually works on Linux, also works on Mac. So, you know, like drivers on different OS would give you a different performance experience. Maybe that will resolve my problem. You know, maybe I should give that a go. Just plug in another disk and boot up into Linux and just try Resolve with rendering there. So those are things I could actually try before considering upgrading. Do you guys think it'll make a difference? Should I do that first? Now, everything I've told you so far only applies because my main primary function is content creation, not gaming. And the FX8350 is surprisingly still a good option for gaming at 1080p. I'm going to try to link you a video up there or in the description below. This guy, he did some modern tests on some more recent titles, and it's holding surprisingly better than people would think. Obviously, you probably are limited to 1080p and you may have to bring down some settings and you won't be able to play 4K on Ultra or Ultimate. That goes without saying. But I guess if you were just after gaming and if you had a system similar to mine, and if I was into gaming, then there's not much you could do to upgrade to a 4K experience and ultra smooth setting. Probably gonna have to change the whole thing and get better graphics card for more demanding titles. That goes without saying. But because our situation is not like that, this is why it's more difficult to make that decision at this stage if you've got a similar system to mine. I think we're going to leave it at that, and it's going to be the end of today's video. So the question for today, which I'm going to post up in the community tab, is this: do you guys think that HealMyTech needs to upgrade his PC, or HealMyTech wants to upgrade his PC? Or maybe I'll ask in a different way. I'm going to ask you, do you need to upgrade your next PC, or do you just want to upgrade your next PC? Let me know in the community tab when you decide to vote, and also you can leave some comments below to further explain and elaborate on this. I'd like to know about your story. So that's it for today's video. As usual, you know what to do down below. Leave me a comment, leave me a like, and consider subscribing if you've not done so yet. As always, this was Ash from HealMyTech, helping you go from newbie to techie. Until next time, peace out.